you first take out your gearbox, you're going to want to take out your selector gears. It's important to keep these in a good place. Most V3 gearboxes come with this little protector when you first get the gearbox. It's quite easy to take off, just keeps the gearbox held together. Now, at this point, if you have a quick detach spring guide like this E-nail gearbox does, I usually like to take that out before I do anything else. Just makes everything a lot easier in the long run. Also want to be careful that the spring guide doesn't hit you in the face when it launches out, as it has done several times to me before. So I was punched a wall in my drywall, punched a hole. Okay, and also you want to take off this little sector gear protector, which at times can be frustrating to get out. There we go. Next thing I like to do is take out the motor first. This is fairly easy, it's only held on by 2 screws. Now when you take off the motor, depending on what kind of motor you have, you want to keep it away from all your other metal parts because they can be highly magnetic and frustrating when they attract all your screws. It's also important to keep these little crush washers on. Don't lose those. Now if you have a MOSFET like a gate, this entire motor assembly is not connected to the trigger, so you can just take it off and put somewhere else. This, however, is connected, so just make sure it's off to the side somewhere. It's not going to fling off the table when you move around the gearbox, but also doesn't attract your screws. Okay, now if you don't have a quick disconnect spring, then this next part is going to be very difficult, frustrating, and just try not to scream if it gets too hard. Depending on what kind of strength spring you have, it's like M100 and M90. You're going to have a fairly easy time taking it off, but you have like an M120 or an M130, be careful. Next, you want to take all these screws off. There's usually a screw here, 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 and here. Now in this particular gearbox, the actual screw here connects to the hop-up unit. So it's not always present on the gearbox itself. Now if you don't have a quick detach spring, you want to be holding this down while you're unscrewing it because they tend to jump out. The entire gearbox tends to explode depending on what strength spring you have. Luckily, I have one of those, so I don't have to worry about that. These E-nail gearboxes are amazing. They have lots of good features. They're pre-radius strengthened, quick detach spring. They're amazing. And one of the sturdiest gearboxes I've seen, stock anyway. So when you take the half of the shell off, a lot of the times these little shims get stuck to the side. I usually take them off and put them back, such as this. They get stuck there. Then just put this off to the side, anywhere. And sometimes the anti-reversal latch likes to jump out. Don't worry about that. So that's basically how you take apart the entire gearbox. Now, putting it back in can be a lot more difficult if you don't have a quick detach spring guide, but if you do, then it's pretty simple. All you do is just hook this back on. When V2s and V3 gearboxes, I always find it's easier to hook this little notch into the cylinder head, so put it down right to left. I've always found that's easiest. Just make sure the trigger's in. I use a little small screwdriver to make sure all the gears and such are in. Make sure it's pressed down firmly. You just take all these screws and put it back in. And that's pretty much it. Just reverse what I just showed you.